So if we want to have better experience, user experience, if we want to have a better meta universe, we need to feed it with personal data. And at the same time, the personal data legislation is forcing the business to restrict this usage.
Texas Global, sparking innovative thoughts. Swadika, hello, and welcome to another episode of Texas Global Podcast, where we seek to inspire and spark innovation. I'm Chawarat Yongjiran Pupe, the host of this podcast, along as being the global content editor at Texas Media. The topics of the metaverse, along with Web3, are buzzwords for sure. NFTs as well, that everyone is talking about, especially during this year. Today, we seek to learn more about these topics and to clarify the issues of copyright and data privacy. I'm so excited to talk to our guest speakers today because usually I talk to one person, but I get to speak to two people today, and they're coming to me from Bulgaria. Wow. The first person is Ginka Hrisvota, the founding director of ILAC, which is the International Legal Advice Center, a network that is a collective of NGOs as well as experts, advocates, and academics working in the field of privacy, cybersecurity, fintech, adult education, intellectual property, business law, civil laws, digital freedoms, free speech in the digital age as well. So that's a lot. I'm so excited to see what she has to say about the topics. And with us as well, we have Bruce Whitfield, the CEO of Teach Me, which is definitely an innovative platform or space for you to learn things about intellectual property, entrepreneurship, data privacy, fintech, alternative dispute resolution, and so on. Hello, Bruce and Ginka.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you. I might have not been able to, introduce you properly. So before we get to talking about our topics today, I just wanted to ask or invite you to give us a little bit of a brief background of yourself and your company. Ginko, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, it's a great pleasure being with you on today. What I'm doing, you generally summarized it pretty well. I'm a lawyer. I am also a co-founder of ALAC, and we've been doing digital law, cyber law for more than 10 years already. So we are dedicated in solving legal issues and giving advices to people and businesses regarding the legal issues in the digital environment for quite some time.
Oh, wow. Yes, definitely. I'm very excited to see your perspective on the topic. Bruce, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you've been doing with your company?
Sure. I'm originally a transactional lawyer from Los Angeles, but for the past 15 years, I've lived in Europe. I teach for Harvard University's European program. They have several European programs, and they offer a lot of their law school courses to people in Europe. And I teach copyright law for one of those programs.
Okay, definitely. We were going to get what you really need to know about the issues of the metaverse and the other topics that I just mentioned there. So first off, to clarify to our listeners who may be bombarded with a lot of these, technical terms and may get confused along the way, can both of you give a clear understanding of what distinguishes the metaverse from other types of internet usage? Bruce?
Sure. I think you're absolutely right. These are buzzwords that get thrown around a lot: metaverse, Web3, and it can be very confusing. Fortunately, the US Congress has developed a very helpful definition of metaverse because, of course, if it exists, the US government wants to regulate it. And so the first step in regulating it is to define it precisely. And so I'm going to use the term metaverse because they have defined it precisely and have a helpful description. In order to be part of the metaverse, and not your typical internet experience, a platform needs to have three qualities. It's immersive, it's persistent, and it's highly interoperable. And I'll define each of those terms. An immersive experience is one which consists of one of three activities: augmented reality, mixed reality, or virtual reality. Augmented reality is, we've all seen it even though we don't know that it's AR. It's when you have a virtual overlay in the real world. I'm sure everybody's seen one of Marvel movies, right? When Tony Stark puts on the Iron Man suit and he looks through the visor, he gets all this information, right? Body temperatures, distance to target. This is augmented reality. When we display a virtual object in the real world in a way that we can interact with it, that's mixed reality. When Tony Stark has his computer display a holographic image of his Iron Man suit, and he can grab that holographic image and he can manipulate it and take pieces off and put things on, that would be mixed reality. And virtual reality, everyone's probably familiar with. You put on your headset and you're in a virtual world, but the actions that you take, the movements that you make in the real world get translated into the virtual world. So any of those three experiences or a combination of those would be considered immersive, and that's our first quality. The second one, it's persistent. And this means that the platform doesn't go away even when all users log out. It continues to exist. Events continue to transpire. Things continue to happen there in that virtual world. And then number three, it's highly interoperable. You can move from one platform to the next. You can buy something in Facebook's iteration of the metaverse with your cryptocurrency, and then you can take it with you into another iteration, or you can display your digital artwork in your home in one of the iterations, and people from Facebook's metaverse can come and visit you. It's highly interoperable. So if it has all three of those qualities, it would be considered part of the metaverse.
Ginka,
that's helpful. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, definitely very thoroughly, clear definitions. Ginka, with that being very clearly defined in the States, Ginka, for the rest of the world, is it the same?
Pretty much the same. It's very important to know that for the moment we do not have anywhere a legal act or something which is regulating the metaverse at the moment as it is. What is applying right now as a legislation, it's other legal acts which are more or less created for other purposes, but they are to apply in the metaverse for the moment. However, not only in US, as Bruce said, the Congress is starting already to prepare some specific legislation. Also in the European Union, they're trying to grasp something and formulate something which is specifically dedicated to the universe. We are already having a regulation in the EU regarding the cryptocurrencies, where we have a clear definition of NFTs, but this is only the beginning.
Yeah, Asia is definitely very grayish in terms of its definition and regulations. I'm just curious. I just wanted to follow up. I mean, how long do you think, or how much of a period are we going to go through where things will get more clearer and more clarified throughout the world?
It really depends of the business actually and of the stakeholders, because they are actually defining and they're developing the metaverse, and it's always pretty much difficult for the legislation to go and follow up with the same speed. The US Congress paper, which Bruce quoted right now, it was issued in 2022, and we have the metaverse as a business model for quite some time. So you can imagine that we need time for the regulation to catch up with the real life.
Yeah, definitely. And like when you talk about one of the main issues that definitely needs clarification, it's about privacy and ownership. And the majority of Web 2 is being influenced, as we all know, by big tech companies. And so everyone is concerned about, privacy and ownership. So with that said, how do you think privacy will look like in Web 3? Um, anyone?
Yeah, uh, privacy, this is a big issue in the Web3 and not only in the digital environment as a whole. One of the main problems is that the privacy is defined as a fundamental right. At least in Europe, we apply this term a lot. And it is very difficult to apply some of the main characteristics of the data privacy in a project, a creation as the metaverse. For example, if we are having a normal data privacy subject of a person, one of his main rights regarding the privacy is to ask for deletion of his data from the controller, from the company which is operating with his data privacy. In the in the metaverse, it cannot be done in such a manner because we always have exchange of information, exchange of data. When we're talking about the virtual reality, there we are collecting a lot of very particular data, which in all legislation, including in the Thai Data Privacy Act is defined as a specific one, biometrical data, information about your behavior, about your physical conditions. And this is to be regarded with greater concern and with a lot more caution. In the metaverse, it is what it is. Actually, it operates because it collects all this data. And we probably are going to have some issues regarding this.
Bruce? Hello, Bruce?
Oh, I don't have anything to add on that.
You know,
Ginka is the expert on data privacy.
the thing is like, oh, how is regulation going to look like for, um, a place where it's, as you said, Ginka, like it's not just so clear cut, everyone will have ownership of their own 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 data.
Yes, and the thing is that the interaction with the AI or with the artificial intelligence, this is the what defines the metaverse. And the AI, it is feeding with data. So if we want to have better experience, user experience, if we want to have a better meta universe, we need to feed it with personal data. And at the same time, the personal data legislation is forcing the business, the controllers, as we tell, to restrict this usage. So it is really very difficult to know which direction the legislation is going to go. For the moment, at least in the European Union, what the the European Commission is saying, they are not making an exception for the metaverse. They're not making an exception for the artificial intelligence neither. What they're saying, we're having those regulations in our famous GDPR, and they apply to everyone. If you want to make a project, if you want to develop a project and a business, you should apply the same regulation. No exceptions are made. They, however, understand that it is quite difficult for the business, so they're planning to make some amendments of the regulation, but for the moment, this is only a good idea. And knowing the speed the European institutions are doing with it is going to take years. I believe in the US, it is going to be a little bit faster because the Congress has already have some particular proposals about the bills. They're also applying very thoroughly the legislation about the protection of children, of minors in the metaverse. So those issues for the moment really are going to be managed ad hoc. I think with what we are having right now, we are trying to apply it to the metaverse and see how it goes.
So if you talk about NFTs, I think we kind of had a little discussion about that there's some people might think, oh, NFT is artwork. But of course, it's much more than that, right? So let's get into NFTs. Let's kind of clarify the term first before we talk about how privacy or data privacy will work with NFTs. Can any of you define in clearly, maybe for people to understand it better?
Yeah, sure. So what is NFT? NFT, it's a non-fungible token. I'm not going to go with the definition which is giving in the European regulation of the NFTs, but clearly to say what it is, these are cryptographic assets on a blockchain with unique identification codes and metadata that is distinguishing them from each another. The most important thing about the definition of NFT is that they use the blockchain technology and that they are unique, meaning that once we have NFT, it is impossible for someone else to have the same one as it is with other crypto assets. It is not a cryptocurrency in its pure definition, but it's a crypto asset, meaning that you can own it, you can transfer it, of course, but it is more difficult to go and pay with it in itself. Probably all of our listeners today, they know that one NFT costs, I don't know, 1 Ethereum or Bitcoin, meaning that the NFT is defined with a certain cryptocurrency.
So it's tied with a certain cryptocurrency.
Yes, it is, and it is unique. It means that it exists. One NFT is the only one you're going to have. That's why people are using it so much for art and for any other creation, content creation. It can relate to everything. It's not only an image. You can have an NFT with the music, with literature writing, with whatever. It can be applied to absolutely all type of content. When it is transformed through the blockchain, it becomes an NFT.
Bruce, how do you think NFTs will evolve in the upcoming years?
Oh, let me add one point of clarification about NFTs. Yes. I want to be clear that the NFT is the evidence of ownership. It's not the digital asset itself. If you go out and you buy a home, right, you're buying a piece of property. That's what you want.
Actually, yeah, that's right. That's a common misunderstanding. Yeah,
it is.
A lot of people think that NFT is the thing itself.
Exactly right.
But sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
So you buy the property and you get the deed, and you can take it down to the local government office and record it, and now you're on title. But you didn't buy the home because you wanted the deed, right? You want the asset itself, you want the property. And NFT is the token which shows ownership. It describes the asset, it points to an asset. And that can be, of course, a Bored Ape, it can be a piece of artwork, as Ginka said, it can be music, anything. But people generally use the term NFT when they're talking about the artwork or the item itself. But technically they're different.
So is it maybe kind of the wrong way that we're referring to NFTs? Because also, when you say when you purchase an NFT, well, that's like kind of what you said, like it's a deed, right?
Right.
It's not actually the item. So then what what is it going to look like in terms of data privacy for NFTs then? I mean, definitely it means that you will have this NFT, this is yours, nobody can take it. But what about the data privacy aspect?
This is exactly what you are saying is one of the main issues about data privacy in the NFTs. It is impossible to delete any information from the ownership in the NFTs because this is the idea of the blockchain. It is another important feature of the blockchain that the data added to the block cannot be deleted or changed. At the same time, the record of all the transactions made with it carried out on the blockchain are distributed to each participant on the network. Instead of being kept in a single center. That's the idea of being decentralized. And thus the progressive with the conscious structure, meaning that once we have an NFT, the ownership is obvious to everyone, meaning that you can know who is owning it, which is a personal data. It cannot be so easily seen by everyone as knowing to identify the NFT with the person. But for example, if you use your NFT as a profile picture, or just you're saying that you bought this NFT as it is unique, then you can be perfectly well identified with it. Meaning that NFT at some point in time is going to become a personal data. I just wanted to clarify what personal data is, because now we are exchanging definitions about Metaverse, about NFTs, but personal data to begin with, we don't have such such a definition of the personal data, meaning your name is personal data, your phone number is personal data. No, the personal data is something that can identify you without any mistake. Sufficient information to identify you. This is how the law is defining personal data. It means that everything can be a personal data if we can be identified with it. And so goes the NFTs, because exactly all the information is kept in the blockchain and because they are unique. At the same time, blockchain, as I said, is distributed to each participant of the network structure, meaning that everyone can see it. And here we come in a little bit of a problem with one of the main rights of the data subjects as we know it on today, meaning that they should give their explicit consent for distributing their personal data. How we are going to do this with the NFTs?
That's it's very deep. I mean, basically, are you saying that like in the future, instead of using an ID card or a passport, you can just use an NFT to register, or just
there are some ideas for this already.
It seems very, I mean, it seems very convenient, but yet scary at the same time.
It is, and once you have both an NFT, it stays there forever. I mean, you cannot delete or get rid of this information if in some years, for example, you decide that it is not convenient for you to be known as an owner of such NFT. So, yeah, it has some issues in it.
Bruce, do you have any thing to add to this?
For the data privacy, no, but for the intellectual property right aspect, I have a couple of things.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. When you purchase, let's say there's a new artist that you really like, and so you go out and you buy one of her paintings. There's no question you own the painting, but you don't have any of the underlying intellectual property rights. So you can display that painting in your home, but you can't display it for profit. You can't take an image of that painting, put it on t-shirts and start selling it. The artist is going to come and sue you because even though she sold you the painting, she still owns the copyright. And everybody knows you couldn't do this in the real world, right? Because the person has the intellectual property rights who created it. But unfortunately, this is exactly what's happening in the metaverse. People are buying an NFT. So now they own the underlying piece of artwork. But then they're taking those and they're using them in the metaverse to build a whole brand. They make derivative products, they display the things for profit. And chances are they really don't have the right to do that. They've only purchased the underlying artwork, not the intellectual property rights with it.
But wouldn't that, I mean, what is the point of getting an NFT if you can't use it? Right?
I'm not saying that,
I'm just thinking as a consumer.
I'm not saying that you can't acquire the intellectual property rights. Many of them, let's say the creator, I know that Top Shot does this. When they transfer you the NFT, they also transfer you a license to use the intellectual property rights. But there are a lot of restrictions on those. You can only earn up to $100,000 a year in profit. There's all kinds of things that you can and can't do with the underlying artwork. And keep in mind that they're probably storing, the NFT points to a piece of artwork, right? But I've never seen an NFT where that's embedded in the NFT. The NFT just points to the digital asset on a server somewhere. Well, they have a right to yank that digital artwork off the server and delete it. And so if you violate the terms of service, they can absolutely do that. So you've got to make sure when you purchase an NFT that you are also purchasing the intellectual property rights to use that digital asset to make money.
A lot of people may not think about that when they buy it.
Everybody I've talked to,
especially now,
who's purchased an NFT, does not know that. They're unpleasantly surprised to find out that information.
So, you know, as we kind of wrap up our conversation, yeah, a lot of our listeners are business people, are startups, are, you know, if you're a company and you want to leverage this new technology or these new concepts of NFTs, the metaverse, I mean, already, you know, what we've talked about, I mean, we could go on and on and on about the details about the, you know, intellectual property rights, data privacy. What is your key message or takeaway for those who you know, who want to use or want to venture into the, you know, the metaverse, but in a secure way to of course grow their business? Bruce?
Well, I'd say two things are of paramount importance. Number one, when you purchase any digital assets, those digital assets are created by someone and stored on a particular server. Make sure that the contract requires that they maintain that server, that they maintain that digital asset, or give you the right to maintain it. Otherwise, if that person goes out of business or lets the server go, poof, there goes your digital asset, right? So that's very important. You want to make sure how the digital asset is maintained and who is maintaining it. Number two, when you purchase an NFT and it points to a digital asset, you want to make absolutely sure you clarify what rights you're getting in addition to the digital asset. So you need to know who created it, who actually holds the copyright on it, and that they have transferred the rights in that copyright to you, or at least licensed some of those rights to you, the ones you want to use.
Okay. Ginka, in terms of, you know, just to ask you that same question, but also perhaps maybe you can add on about data privacy and how, as you mentioned, it will be kind of tricky in terms of, you know, having NFTs, like containing your own private data and your private data and whatnot. How can companies navigate through these two issues of, you know, data privacy and also intellectual property rights?
What is very important is for the companies, for the people who want to make business out of NFTs and to go to the metaverse for business, is I would say to be honest with that subject. I mean, I would really advise them to explain in their privacy notices what the data is, what is going to be done with the data, how it's going to be transferred, if it cannot be deleted, to say it if it's regarding the NFTs. And for the data subject, it is important to read these privacy notices and to know what is going to happen, exactly as Bruce said, for the terms and conditions, because actually most of the people, they don't mind their data privacy to be shared, used for the deep learning of the artificial intelligence, but they need to know, because there are many different cases, and if you want to do something in particular with buying an NFT or going to the metaverse, you should know what you're doing and what it is bringing you to.
Okay. Ginka, when we talk about law, it can get very detailed and very complicated, especially when you're, in Europe or the United States or in Asia. How will the whole platform or the metaverse be regulated if we have intellectual property rights and data privacy being done in such a way that it's so open?
That's one of the greatest things and the most caring ones at the same time, that once you're online, actually you are everywhere. Once your business is a digital business and you're dealing with metaverse, or actually even having a website, which is part of the Web 2, you have to take care of the legislation everywhere. For everyone who is able to access your website or to enter your metaverse, it means that your product is subject to regulation from everywhere. That's why European Union, US, Asian regulation, everything should be really very consistent. I know that it sounds scary and very difficult, probably impossible, but it is not, believe me. We've been doing this for quite some time, and you can navigate in between everything.
Okay, very useful information, and I'm sure a lot of us, or this people, would probably want to know more about you, Ginka and Bruce. If any of our listeners want to, seek you out or gain more know-how from you, or to maybe partner with you, how can they reach out to you, Ginka?
I'm very happy. I would be very happy to have any kind of personal contact with any of your listeners. They can reach out on LinkedIn or on the website of ILAC, www.ilac.eu. But LinkedIn, honestly, I think it's the best option. Facebook also, we are available everywhere on the social media. So easy to find.
Okay, Bruce?
Oh, well, they can always add me on Instagram. Probably everybody has an Instagram account. My Instagram handle is Profwhit, PROFWHIT. Of course, they can also hit the website, teach-me.space. Those are probably the easiest ways to find me.
Yes, or of course, you can always contact us here at Texas Media. Ginka, Bruce, thank you so much for being with us here on our episode of Texas Global Podcast. We look forward to seeing more developments from your side, from ILAC, and also from Teach Me, and hope to talk to you again, because, these topics that we're talking about are constantly developing. And thank you for enlightening us on the clear definitions of the metaverse, clear definitions of NFTs, and what to really be careful about entering this whole new realm of things. Thank you so much, Bruce and Ginka. Khop kun makค่ะ.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Texas, sparking innovative thoughts.